Welcome to the channel. The Super Mario Bros. Has reached $1 billion worldwide this past weekend, and I sort of predicted it in my last video on this channel, and I'll put the link right up here on the screen. Also, for its 40th anniversary, Return of the Jedi is back in theaters, and it proves itself at the box office with some good earnings with its small, limited release. All right, so let's look at the data here with the numbers for the Super Mario Bros. Box office this past weekend. It opened in Korea and South Korea and Japan on April 28th. Right now, the news is that it's doing very, very well in Japan alone. It's at 490,000, shy 500,000 dollars for the box office, the domestic box office, and then internationally, it's done over 500. It's at 532 box office, and with all that, it got the 1 billion, and it's still doing very well. And it's all, and then the percentage that it drops every weekend, it's not a lot. And the Japanese box office is just gonna help it even more. I'm predicting that this movie is gonna have a good one more solid month in theaters. If it continues to do as well as it is right now, it might even go up to 2 months. But definitely, it has another month in it, and before it goes out to digital. Hopefully they don't release it in digital anytime soon, so that it can still get some box office. And I predict that it's gonna probably get up to at least maybe 1.2 or 1.3 billion. Now, can it get to 1.5? That's the real question. I think that if it continues to have strong legs over the next week or two, there is a good chance that it can get to 1.5. For Japan alone, it made over $14 million over this past weekend, and that's pretty incredible just for Japan alone for that weekend, opening weekend. And that also helped it go over the 1 billion. But even if it didn't come out in Japan, even if this movie would not release in Japan, without Japan, this movie would have still reached 1 billion. And because of that number, it's already the biggest animated opening, the biggest animated movie opening in Japan ever. The movie reached 1 billion in 4 weekends. That's the fastest $1 billion movie that it's made. The 1 billion mark for Universal Pictures. That's the fastest 1 billion movie that they've ever had. It is also the biggest Universal Pictures opening ever at this point as well. Now let's go ahead and compare this movie to Frozen 2, which has been the biggest animated movie ever so far domestically, and also to Minions: The Rise of Gru, which came out last year for Universal, and that was the biggest animated movie for them so far last year. So we look at the graph right here. The blue is going to be Super Mario Brothers, the red is going to be Frozen 2, and the orange Minions: Rise of Gru. And as you can see right here, the Super Mario Brothers keeps going up in that graph at about probably $500 million. What's it called? Frozen 2 settles down right there. The total for Frozen 2 is 477 million, with Super Mario Bros. Already passing it at 490, and Minions: Rise of Gru is at 369 million. Worldwide, Frozen 2 still dominates at 1,437,000, with Super Mario Bros. Trailing, and third place it would be Minions: Rise of Gru at 939,000. So in order for Super Mario Bros. To beat Frozen 2's worldwide box office, it definitely needs a stronger legs. I think Japan and Korea are going to help in the box office for it to get there. So I'm predicting that by the end of this month, it could be at 1.3, and possibly it could beat Frozen 2 at 1.4, over 1.4 for it to go over Frozen 2, but it would actually have to realistically make at about $1.5 billion worldwide. So we'll see how the legs are there. I'm predicting 1.3, but we'll see. I'm hoping it does beat Frozen 2, but we'll have to see in the next couple of weeks. And I knew it was going to do well. You know, the Nintendo franchise, Nintendo company is very, very popular in Japan. I mean, it's early Nintendo and Super Nintendo systems were had crazy sales in that country decades ago. So even if families and kids don't go that much to the movie, but that's just kind of crazy to think about, because they will. There are generations of people, older people, that are already almost in their 50s or 40s that are going to go see this, at least for nostalgia reasons or because they themselves own the first Nintendo systems back in the day. All right, so let's move on to Return of the Jedi. And this movie made $5 million over its last weekend at only 475 screens. And it's just a testament to how amazing this is. And it's an original Star Wars, George Lucas Star Wars movie. So that alone, in my opinion, also definitely helps that fans and audiences still love this movie, and this movie still has power. So let's check out the details here on Box Office Mojo for Return of the Jedi's limited release. On each day, on April 20th, Friday, and then April 29th, Saturday, and April 30th, Sunday, it did pretty good. Each of those days, it did, for the first 2 days, it almost did $2 million each. And then as far as the percentage drop for each day, it wasn't too bad for the second day, Saturday, at only 1.2%. And Sunday it did 18.5%, which isn't too bad either. And it still managed to get over $1 million as well, with a total of $5 million for this weekend, a little bit over $5 million. And that's only at 475 screens. So let's go ahead and just compare it to other movies to just see that that ratio is amazing for that limited release and for that much box office. If this movie would have had a wider release, like 4,000 screens, 3,000 screens, I'll bet you that this movie probably would have made maybe minimum $10 million, maybe up to $15 million, because it's just so popular still to this day, 40 years later. All right, so back in the numbers.com, if we compare it, let's see what movie came out this weekend. Also, we have Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, at 3,343 screens, and it only did $6 million or close to $7 million. So that movie's not doing pretty good. It's not really good at the box office for its first weekend. Depends on the budget of that movie. Maybe it'll end up getting its money back, but who knows? Then also another movie I definitely recommend is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. It's based on the Afghanistan war and the Arab interpreters that worked. I'm not sure if it's the Marines or the Army Corps, but they work with these soldiers as interpreters, and I definitely recommend it. It's based on a true story, but unfortunately in its second weekend, it didn't do too good at 2,631 screens. It only did a little bit over $3 million. So unfortunately that movie is not doing well, but it just shows you the good ratio that Return of the Jedi has for only 475 screens, and it's $5 million box office weekend. Now this movie is released by Disney. This 40th anniversary screening is released by Disney, so it's up to you. If you're not a Disney Star Wars fan, if you don't want to support Disney, it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you to go and watch it. I do recommend it because it's amazing on the screen with the sound, the 5.1. It's a classic Star Wars movie. It's a movie from back in the 80s. If you're a movie fan, definitely check it out to see just a classic movie, a classic Star Wars movie on the screen. But yes, I went to see it twice. I went to see it in the morning and the evening on Friday, and just to feel the vibe of the audience and everything like that. The screening for the evening was like booked. I think the only thing that was empty was the front row, the one like literally you're looking up at the ceiling. For 475 screens, it did an average per theater at $10,000 per theater. So that's pretty good. That means almost all the screenings were packed, if not almost packed. And my evening screen was literally probably about 90% full. So if you're going to go on and watch this, just know that you're at least letting Disney know that you're supporting a George Lucas Star Wars movie. Because even to this day, 40 years later, these movies are popular. These movies are meant to be on the screens. Kind of like that poster from long ago. This is why they built movie theaters. The original movies are why they built movie theaters. So definitely go check it out. I don't think maybe if they ever have a 20th anniversary of The Last Jedi or even The Rise of Skywalker, people would turn out like this. If they ever do like a limited release of 475 screens, I don't think those two movies would ever reach $5 million weekend, because those movies just are tainted. They destroyed the aspirational story of Luke Skywalker and George Lucas' saga, and the story of the hero's journey with Luke, and then also Anakin Skywalker. So it just pooped all over those movies, and it said, look, our hero is going to be a Palpatine, Ray Palpatine, and it just has this whole underlying nihilistic message underneath all of that. So It's like those movies will never have the success that these original Star Wars movies or even the prequels had with audiences and fans. They definitely wouldn't have this type of success in their anniversary if they ever have anniversary screenings. So it's a testament to Return of the Jedi, and it would be the same success if they had released A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back as well. So I'm happy as a big Star Wars fan to have seen Return of the Jedi still be able to be on the top 5 for that weekend for movies in theaters. So I'm very proud of Return of the Jedi and was able to do that. So that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you again for watching. I'll be doing more box office videos on this channel, so stay tuned. In the meantime, I'll see you guys next time, and may the Force be with you.